Hey guys, it's Contra Eco. Yesterday on Saturday, I made a pretty deep run in the Modern Showcase Challenge, playing a four-color Whirza deck. This one on screen. Um, there were a lot of really interesting tight games, especially the one against Tron, where I really had to keep playing towards my outs when I was pretty sure I was dead. The only difference here is with what I'm showing you here is I took out the damnation afterwards and put in this river part because I thought it was better. But in the videos that I show you, the replays, this will be a damnation. Everything else is the same, and yeah, I'm really happy with how it worked. And this is the build of Wurza that I'm happiest with right now. Getting rid of Emery really helped me start to ignore the removal that decks are packing in this more interactive meta, and it's working really well. You know, witching well, helping you set up your draws early. Having 22 lands means I get to mulligan less. You get less one land hands, even if it's marginally less. And the mana ramp, everything has come together really well for this build, I think. So let me go and start the first replay and we'll take a look through it. I'm not sure how long this takes. I've never done this before. And honestly, I have a terrible memory. So I might not be able to remember all the decisions I made as we go, but we'll see how it goes. Alright, here it is. So the first round, I played against a blue-red prowess deck, and I went 0-2. Maximize this. Now, how does this work? So I want to use this. Right. So that was my first turn. Looks like it kept 7 and continued from there. And I realized that they were playing. Oh, right. It's Karnza is what I was playing against. Yeah. So I don't feel too bad about this start against Karnza. Here I would go with the Pentad Prism. Get started. That kind of insulates me from a lot of what they could be doing. Next here, I don't want to miss my land drop, so I would play the Ichor Wellspring, hoping to draw another land, so I don't miss my land drop. Engineer is a strong play, but it probably won't survive anyway because they have bolts and giants. So it doesn't matter as much when I play this, but I don't want to miss my land drop. Alright, and I hit the island. So now I went ahead and played Engineer to make best use of my mana. I still have access to 3 blue here in case I draw a Whir. And I get my sword in the yard. So they have to interact with this or play their turn 3 play. Right, so they're playing Stomp here, which means I didn't get to mess with their 3-drop plan, but that's okay. Close this. So that punishes me rushing the sword because now they get to exile it for free. Can't stop them. And they start getting over their mana slump and put some pressure on the board. So at this stage, I still don't feel like I'm in too bad a position. I get to use my wishing well, draw some more cards. Engineer isn't really a good pull there because anything I get, I'm just going to lose anyway. So instead I play the Niel Spellbomb, activate it to draw a card. See if I can put myself in a better situation. No, so I just play the Pentad Prism, build up all my mana, so they can't really cut me off with anything. And I play my Spellbomb. Okay, so now is where problems begin. Karn drops, and yeah, like I don't know how it is for Pawns' other matchups, but this really makes a huge difference against me, obviously. I imagine that I crack the Aether Spell Bomb to draw a card in response. Yeah. Alright, so still, if I can just draw a Galvanic Blast and I have 3, then I'm still in a pretty okay position, you know. So I start playing towards that. I play the Engineer out without fetching anything, just so that I have it ready, and so that I can start cycling Chromatic Star and Acre Wellspring to draw cards, or attack Karn if the opportunity presents itself. But it just dies. Alright, so they start taking my mana, but as long as I have red and 3 artifacts, I can still deal with the Karn. That's a bigger problem, but then when all hope seems to be lost, I draw Urza. So this still gives me a chance here. If they don't have a way to block this construct, I can pressure the Karn that way, and I can start spinning Urza to try and hit Galvanic Blast. So they double stomp the Urza, which sucks, but at least, you know, they're not just playing those and killing me with them. It still bought me some time. Yeah, so they keep attacking my mana and play Arbor Elf out to chunk block. They know that they have the inevitability here with Clothis to kill me. They just need to keep me locked down. So even if they can't play a creature that's bigger than the construct, they don't really need to. They're locking off my mana, and they have a steady stream of chunk blockers that they can play here. Yeah. Alright, so game 2. Is that how I get out? This button? No? Closing this? Okay. For game 2, I'm on the play. I wish I had recorded how I sideboarded. That would have been useful information. Let me see. Nah, I can't remember for sure. Alright, we'll have to go with whoever we see played. Yeah. Alright, so I mulligan that first hand. I need to see something with a lot of mana, preferably 3 lands, just because they're going to start attacking my mana early. I imagine I put back the Tezzeret here. Yeah, play out Island Star, or maybe Hallowed Fountain Star. Okay, Island Star. Opponent also has a good start. So I elect here to play out the sword, because if not, I would have to go Glimmer Void, and they may have destroyed the Chromatic Star, and I would lose a land along with it. and that would really screw me on colors and mana. Alright, so I play out the engineer, and try a thing. They may not have an answer immediately, and then they could have gone badly thought the foundry. And even if they have an answer, then they're kind of forced to play it. Yeah, but this is how it went, and at this point, there wasn't much else I could do. So that was a difficult first match. I didn't feel too disheartened by it. At the end of the day, this is a deck that's kind of designed, not designed, but it is naturally set up well against Whirza. They have the Karn, which basically shuts down everything. They're playing red green, which has a lot of cards, even in the main deck like Pillage, that can destroy artifacts, and they have a lot more hit in the sideboard. You know, um, in a large event, there will be some matchups you prefer not to face, and sometimes you get paired against them game one, round one. So I didn't feel too bad at this point, and I just hope that the rest went better. For round two, I can't remember what I played against. I was on the draw. Right, against an unknown opponent. I kept this hand because, well, it has two lands, it has ramp, it has the combo in hand. So drawing more lands is good, drawing a Urza is good. It's pretty decent hand, despite. Opponent ended up playing Prowess with a pretty fast start in terms of creatures. And I was pretty sure I was going to die here. But what ended up happening is they didn't have a lot of spells to back up the creatures. Alright, and I played Engineer here instead of Sword, so that I get an additional blocker. So here I just immediately make 4 Thopters without playing anything else. I just want to make it as difficult as possible for them to get through any attacks. And they scoop in response to that, and I don't think they took their next turn. So at this point, when I saw these cards, I thought, I guess they're mono red. But in the end, they turned out to be blue-red with a poor draw. So game 2, round 2. This hand, I may have kept this hand actually, not sure. Yeah, kept this hand. And I think that's because turn 1, they'll play a creature. I'll play Steam Vents and kill it. Turn 2, they can do whatever they're doing. Hopefully I draw a different land, I don't have to play this, but if I do, I can play Sword of Meat and then go from there. Being on the draw, I have a chance to draw into more mana as well, more easily. And this didn't seem worth mulliganing. Right, so as planned for turn 1. Turn 2. Alright, so it starts getting scary here. I really need to draw a land. Instead of drawing a card there, I like to bounce the Storming Entity because I think it will give me a longer time to find land, But what I should have done is wait until they attacked and then bounced it. And I got punished for that here because now they got to Metamorphose and cast it again. Well, again, the trigger for the Metamorphose off the Sprite Dragon. So I could have made it a lot more difficult for them to recast this and deal a lot of damage to me this turn by just waiting. Yeah, so now we're all down by turn 4, and I haven't drawn any more lands. So they probably kill me this turn. Now they barely miss, but then I don't draw another land, and I can only make 2 blockers. They just have to kill 1 and I'm dead. Yeah. So for game 3 of round 2, I'm on the play. Do I think I kept this? I hope not. Alright, good. Yeah. And I imagine I keep this and put back a island. Yes. Start with a Hollow Fountain tapped and pass. Not the best hand against Prowess, but probably better than a random 5. And they don't have a fast start. So as long as I don't die too fast, I'm getting the combo online. I have redundancy against a braid. So it's not looking terrible right now. Missing a 1-drop really hurt the opponent here. So I immediately go for Sword and attempt to kill their Stormwing with Galvanic Blast rather than trying to make a Thopter. That's because this protects me from getting Surgical while still stopping them from dealing damage to me with the Stormwing entity, rather than just trying to hold the Galvanic Blast and gain life with Sword Unique. Right now, if they want to Surgical me, they need to upgrade the Sword and Surgical it. They have another Stormwing, attack for 3. So here I'm feeling pretty good, I imagine. You know, I draw an Aether Spell Bomb, and I'm just going to make 3 Thopters, I imagine, and pass. So there's no way I'm dying here. You know, like even if they have some crazy way to remove all my blockers and play a bunch of spells, I get to bounce one of their creatures. So I block both and then bounce the Stormwing anyway to continue to slow them down, stop them from replaying it. I attack with both Thopters here. Yeah, there's no way that was right for them to point the lightning bolt at that Thopter. Not when their life total is so high. After they tap out, I kill the Sprite Dragon with Fatal Push. So I'll make 3 more, I imagine. And, oh yeah, at this point, I realized that they were F6. So I figured they don't have, it's a little quirk of Moto, you know. You can kind of tell when they don't have anything. People can try and dupe you by pressing F6 and then trying to time it so that they turn off their auto use just as you're about to expose yourself, but I took the risk. Alright, so at this point, this game is pretty much over. they would need a lot to stop me here. They would need a lot to get both of these Sapler Foundries off the board and get through all these blockers, etc., etc. Yeah, I think they scooped at this point. All right, so at this point it was 1-1, and round 3, game 1 against Penips. I was on play. I don't have notes on what match this was. I imagine I kept this hand. Yeah. So immediately when you see snow-covered plains, you kind of know what to expect here. But I was happy to be able to get my triome at that point. Arbiter. Not a big problem. I just play my sword and pass. Second Arbiter. So there are quite a few people who would attack there. They don't realize that the sword makes the Thopter big enough to block. But my opponent was clearly aware. Yeah, so I'm just giving my mana up. You know, I really don't have to do anything else but stop them from taking care of my my combo. I may have killed Arbiter here. No. Yeah, that makes sense. Get the power on board. That's gonna accumulate faster when I attack. Alright, so that's game 1. This matchup is usually is interesting to play and interactive, and I feel like I am somewhat favored. Having seen only this much of their deck, I wasn't quite sure if they were playing Stoneforge and whatnot. But I think I still brought in both Fractures and Spyglass. I just find that Spyglass works really well against them. You know, it stops Giver, it stops Aetherfile, and then some others. Like even if they're not playing Stoneforge and they're playing the Eldrazi variant, it stops the Displacer. You hardly ever play it and don't find something valuable to name. Oh, game 2. Keep this hand plenty of mana, so it's hard for them to shut me off of mana. Even if they play a turn 2 Arbiter, I fetch turn 1 and scry. Yeah. I put both cards on top. And they miss their land drop. So I play out the sword now. It's safe. If they had made their land drop, it wouldn't be safe because they could play Skyclave Apparition. But because they missed their land drop, there's no way they could play a 3-drop this turn. Okay, Thalia comes out to make things a bit harder. Yeah, and I fetch no just so that they can't catch me out with Viling in Arbiter. and they are playing Stoneforge. So I think I might just play Urza here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this is a play I didn't expect, but it makes sense. This stops me from kind of doing anything really good to take advantage of the additional mana from Urza this turn. So if they knew they were planning on killing it, right, makes sense. So it stopped me from drawing any cards off. I guess I could have sat the Chromatic Star, but I want to save that for later. And then they deal with the token. And I just happen to draw Stop the Foundry. I don't even bother fatal pushing the Thalia, because once I get the Foundry in play, the taxing effect is not all that important. Right. So they try to get me with Apparition here, which is fine. I don't even think I sack the Stop the Foundry. I just let them take it, so that if I kill the Apparition, I can get a token. And here I draw Urza. So basically, if they don't have removal here, I just get to win on the spot. And I do. Alright, so that was a quick one. Round 4. Let's see what this was against. Can't quite recall. Multi-6. Alright, so Tron. I think this is Eldrazi Tron. Discard both cards to the bottom. I just want mana here. I have the combo in hand. I want mana, I want Urza. Alright, so most builds that people have seen of this deck play Emery and Bobble. So this makes sense. You know, they kind of read what's going on here properly, but this build is a little different from what people are accustomed to. They will, if they see Witching Well, they're going to expect Emery, which will mean Bubble. Alright, that was a good draw. And obviously I was very relieved to see the Chalice, because that means it's Eldrazi Tron, which is a lot easier to beat turn 1. And they are playing extremely scared of my combo. But to be fair, I could, if I had an Urza and a land, so if this was an Urza and this was a land and this was a sword, I could actually win this turn. And them playing the Scavenger Grounds would have prevented me from doing that. So if they already have the power plant in hand, it kind of makes sense to do this. I do draw the Urza, and I just play it out. I'm hoping that this kind of makes them feel safe tapping out of the Scavenger Grounds. But even if they don't, it's not all that important. I have 2 things that I can stack to Goblin Engineer. Alright, so I play Stop the Foundry, play Engineer, and unless they have removal, no, even if they have the removal, they can't activate Scavenger Grounds, so I'm pretty safe right here. Get my sword sack, they try to exile, and then I just sack the Wishing Well. And combo off. I think they did make me run through it for quite a while. But I just started spinning Urza until I hit a damping sphere, and then I attacked because basically there's nothing that they can do to stop me with 4 mana. And then when I get to untap, I'll be able to deal with whatever they put into play. So I was once I hit the damping sphere, spinning Urza, I was good. Game 2. I think I probably kept this. Yeah, it seems decent. Has blast to hit Karn. Has ramp. Has like a combo piece. Yeah, kept it. So I'll lead an island and pass. So I'm not sure what I would have played here. Normally I just go Pentaprism anyway, but because I imagine I was worried about a thought knot, I might not have done that. No, I still did. Yeah, they're having mana problems. So now here, I get to put my combo pieces into play and have Galvanic Blast up. So I'm pretty well set up here that even if they play Karn, I can just make a 1/1 and then blast the Karn on my turn. And then I just draw Urza, and it's basically over at that point. Yeah, so that was another quick one. So this is where, you know, the momentum really started picking up, and I started thinking, I might be able to get a solid finish in this event. So round 5. Namor Squats. Yeah, I can't remember what they were playing either. Let's find out. Okay. That's an alright mulligan against a Yorion deck. Alright, so from when I see Yorion, first thing I think is Niv-to-Light. And I ended up that ended up being true here. And from what I remember, I think that this opponent made some decisions that probably led to them losing. That if they had played differently, I probably couldn't have won. Alright, and I just drew the sword to meet there. I think I didn't activate here, but I can't remember why. I think I might have been concerned about Kaya's Guile, but they didn't have white up. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't activate, but I can't recall quite why. Unless there's some other card that I'm not remembering now that I was thinking about at that point in time. Alright, so this looks like a pretty good position right here. I play my Urza. But the Assassin's Trophy in response, which is a good play. A little surprised that they didn't do it at the end of their turn though, because I guess they could have been playing around Metallic Rebuke, I suppose. I guess that's what it had to be, yeah. They were probably playing around Metallic Rebuke, because obviously if I hadn't played anything and I just started activating it, then they would have to answer 4 Thumpers at least. So I get my land off Urza. And I just go ahead and play the Pentad Prison with 1 counter on it. And equip the construct, just so it's a big threat that they have to deal with. So they bring to light here, Supreme Verdict. Ren is getting big, Ren's getting fat. They go ahead and cycle to draw a card, play this, cycle it, get a Galvanic Blast, and play a Damping Sphere. So it's really starting to get away from me here. They bring to light again. So I thought they were going to get the Unmoored Ego here, but they just went ahead for Niv to try and refill their hand. I just blast the Ren in order to keep it from ultimating. Can't have them casting Bring to Light every turn. Play Nahiri. Luckily my artifacts don't really get tapped, so it's not a big deal if I can pull something useful. Yeah, so I pulled Engineer there, but at this point it's just too far gone to be able to win. Especially because I had known that they had revealed Lightning Helix, and I was at 9, so they were going to swing for 6 and then Lightning Helix. I guess I could have given them the opportunity to make a bad decision by playing the Goblin Engineer, and maybe they would Lightning Helix that. But I didn't think about that, and I should have played it and hope that they didn't realize that they had lethal, which happens quite often. Game 2. Here I was on play, and this is why bringing thought seizes. This is how I want to start, kind of throwing this kind of deck off of their game plan, while being able to set up with Goblin Engineer, for instance. And I didn't worry too much about my life total. My attitude here is that I'm going to slip in and win before they are able to get to a point where they can pressure my life total. If they're pressuring my life total, I'm probably losing anyway, and I want to make sure that my mana is good, that I can cast whatever I draw. So I don't want to get a swamp here to Thought Seize, and then turn 4 I can't whir because I don't have 3 blue, you know. So I get this Foundry into play. Okay, so against Niv to Light, the biggest concern, especially post board, when they know what they're playing, is that you want to get your combo pieces into play before they can unmoor the Ego. So I prioritize this over Thought Seize or whatever else, because I don't want them to draw into it and then play on turn 3. Since I was on play and they didn't have a how did this die? Alright, since I was on play and I took away their turn 1 acceleration, I can get my total combo into play before they can unmoor the Ego, even if they have it in hand. So they put Yorion in their hand. I go ahead and snag Omnath. But right now, I don't have much else to do with my mana. Yeah, so here I was telling myself I have Academy Ruins. Um, I can sacrifice this to get my engineer back, and then I can use engineer to get sword, and then I will be able to either use the engineer or Academy Ruins to basically get the combo into play over the next 2 turns. So I didn't activate there because again I had Kaya's Guile in mind. I think that was the reason why. Um, I wanted to see what I would draw, like hopefully draw an artifact so I could play it, and then I would have both of these effects to use at instant speed. So even if they have a Guile, I would at least get back one of my combo pieces. So now that I have the Whir, I'm just going to play and pass. There's the verse, which I didn't know about. So I Whir in response here, and I get a Wishing Well to set up my draws, which include a island, which I put at the bottom, and a sword to meet, which I put at the top. So I do this way because I'm going to sack this to get Foundry into play, and I want that the card that I draw is something that can get sword back. So if it's a sword itself, then that's great. I just want an artifact to sack to Foundry, because Foundry is going to be the only artifact I have in play after I activate Engineer here to sack the Witching Well to get it back. So I don't want to have to take a whole turn to like sack Foundry to itself and get it back or something like that. I want to draw an artifact here. So drawing a sword was fine. So here, I think this is a Bring to Light. And here I was like, all right, I'm done for sure. They're just going to get Unmoored Ego and cast it. And then if I respond and sack Dr. Foundry, put it in the graveyard and get him back sword, they'll just name Dr. Foundry. Or if I don't do anything, they'll just name sword. But instead, I think they got Niv Mizzet. So they basically gave me the chance here to keep going with my combo, because if they hadn't done this, the only way I have to win is like Tezzeret or Whirza. So I play the sword, draw the sword, play the sword, get my combo into play. They just swing, and I figure they have something, but I'll make them, play whatever they have. I make all my Thopters. I can sack right down now because they're not gonna have surgical. And if they have Kaya's Guile, then so be it. I just um, lose one of my swords, but I still have one. But at this point, they don't have anything. I think maybe they're a little tilted. They just let the Niv die, and they go on to get another Niv. I think another Bring to Light. Yeah, and they get an Unmoored Ego off of that. So I was wondering if they just weren't playing Unmoored Ego at this point, but no, they did have it. So they definitely should have gotten it with the first Bring to Light. So here, I play Pithing Needle, naming Teferi Time Raveler. And that is because I saw that they had gotten a Teferi off of one of the nibs, maybe more than one. And sure, Teferi just bounces something and they can play it again and they don't really play counter spells. But what they might have been able to do this turn with one more blue source is play to Fairy, bounce Thought to Foundry, and then cast Unmoored Eagle, and that would have taken care of me. So I named to Fairy here so that they don't have the opportunity to do that. So they go ahead and cash in the Unmoored Eagle for Urza, which is a fine play. But at the end of the day, I can still make a whole army of Doctors that they have to spend cards on. So it doesn't really matter if my hand is empty when that is effective against them. And they get to another trigger off of Niv here. So the game is far from over, but I think they made it a lot more difficult on themselves. Is this the end? Okay. Yeah, so I go ahead making Doctors. So basically now I think I stopped even worrying about the Planeswalkers. I just want to attack them and get as much damage into them as possible each turn. So I attack with everything here. I was even thinking that I could use this Galvanic Blast to kill Niv or whatever they block with, but I don't bother. They're at 11. This blast is probably going to help me finish them off. Okay, I guess there was a pause here. I can't remember what they did with the Nahiri. I think they probably just exiled the Doctor. I'm going to try skipping forward. I imagine that this deck went down on Vanishing Verses a bit. Or did they scoop here? I don't think they scooped. Alright, the playback ends here, but I think the game went on for another turn, and they used Lightning Helix to survive for one more turn with blocks. Or they tried to, and then I ended up finishing them off with Galvanic Blast. So that was round 5. I went 4-1 at this point. Feeling pretty fussy with myself. Round 6. Now I think that this was the Mono G Tron here, Mono Green Tron. And they had to mulligan to like 4 game 1. No, this is a Tron. What's this? Oh, right. This is the other Karnza deck. So I go about getting some basics out. And I prefer them to destroy that than one of my lands, so that's fine. Play this fetch out so I can get another basic island. This person kept tapping for extra mana, and I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why they kept doing that. In this case, it was for this, but I don't know why they kept doing that. It was weird. They had a 3-drop they wanted to play there, but the Damping Sphere was preventing them. Alright, so I just play a land and pass, waiting to decide what I'm going to whir for. So I whir for Thought to Foundry, I imagine here. And then I get to drop this and start making factors. Yeah, another Carnza confirmed at this point. So I make 3 filters. And they turn my sword into a creature, which lets them chump it this turn, and then I won't be able to re-equip it onto one of my filters to make them bigger next turn. So, and they go up to 6. So that makes a lot of sense. So I need to hit the Chandra for at least 1, which this one is, and I'm attacking the Karn for 4. So play this, scry 2 cards to the bottom. I imagine, oh no, I can't draw, no. I'll just play a land and cycle. And then I played Witching Well. So this helps me dig way deep down into my deck, looking for an answer to Karn. So they plus Chandra, reveal a Blood Moon. And they get an Ensnaring Bridge with Karn. So this is not a good position that we're in right now. I get an Urza, and I can start activating it. Hit a land, spin it again, hit another land. So now the Chandra has been ultimated. They use the first trigger to kill Urza, and I'm just hoping to draw an answer to Karn within the next 2 turns. Because I figure if I can answer Karn, I can gain enough life that I can buy myself some time to get another Urza and destroy the Ensnaring Bridge. So this is another example of a game 1 where it's possible that I just lose if I don't have a way to destroy Ensnaring Bridge, which is Spinefish Saw. Yeah, but in the end, I couldn't draw anything, and they just burned me out with the Chandra emblem. So game 2. I wish I had a record of what I sideboarded. I'll have to try to start at least keeping note of that for large events. I started on the play. I think I kept this. It's a little loose, but with one other colored mana source, I get to ramp. I have this to help fix my mana as well. I have the 2 Thopter Foundries. Pretty sure I kept this. Meanwhile, my opponent mulliganed to 5. So I play the Academy Ruins here to conceal that I have another island. And maybe they will even destroy the Academy Ruins if they're destroying a land. And again, Blood Moon might not have seemed like as an attractive play for them there. They might have played something else to pressure my life total maybe if I had 2 islands in play. So they draw their Bone Crusher, and meanwhile I just have to try to find a sword. So I'm going to draw 2 cards off the Wishing Well, and I find the Goblin Engineer, which will get a sword. They kill the Engineer, but that's fine. It's done its job already. And I'll just hold the Pithing Needle, wait and see what they play. It's not only Karn that I have to worry about. There are other problems. There's Chandra, there's Scavenging Ooze, there's the red-green enchantment that destroys artifact enchantment. So for now, they can try to play. They can try to play against the combo that's in play. I don't block this. I don't want to make unfavorable blocks here. Prefer to build up my own attack force. I'm gaining life at the same time anyway, and then I can interact with them when need be. So I get a second sword with Engineer here, and this does two things. It puts more power in play for me, but it also means that they have to answer the Engineer before they can answer the Thought Foundry. I also made a huge blocker that they couldn't attack through. Right, so now I have Whirza and the combo. And the game is pretty much over. I can't remember if they made me go through it. Yeah, so I just passed and waited to see what they did, and then comboed, and then they scooped. Game 3. Alright, so I keep a pretty decent hand here. Lead with my fetch. This way they can't pillage it, and I can decide what I want to do with it based on what they play. So I get an island. Now I get to untap and play Pentad Prism. Fracture, I understand Fracture is a little weird to bring in because it's so hard to cast, but I need as many answers to Karn as I can get, and sometimes you can have an instant sweep to destroy a Blood Moon or whatever else. In this case, it worked out perfect for me here because they tried to pillage my Pentad Prism, which was storing 2 mana, so I just got to use that mana for Fracture to take out the Blood Moon. So I got a look in their hand. I just saw Clothis and 2 lands, and I just played my Sorcerer Spyglass, naming Karn the Great Creator. I wasn't sure that I want an Ensnaring Bridge yet, and that's because they do play a lot of Planeswalkers, and I don't want to stop myself from attacking their Planeswalkers if I need to. So they play a Torpor, which made everything more difficult for me here. I took out the Spine of Ishsaw, I think. So basically, the only other answer I had to Torpor was one more Fracture. And without it, basically, I don't get to make a construct with Whirza, and I don't get to use Thopter Sword. I can just make a few 1/1s with Thopter Foundry. So this was a little scary. Luckily, they didn't have much else going on, and it gave me a little time. But this game did get very drawn out. I didn't bother killing the Arbor Elf because I need this to deal with Collector Wolf and other more important creatures, and they have a lot of mana already. So I just kind of spend my time holding on, waiting, but drawing a good set of gear. So here comes Chandra. I decide to whir for a Pithing Needle, naming that, rather than trying to do battle with it. So here I get a Tezzeret and plus it, figuring that if they play like a Bloodbraid Elf or something else to attack it, I have 2 failed pushes and I have the Chromatic Star, which is going to let me get Revolt. And I realize at this point that Tezzeret is my other way of stopping the Torpor Orb. Because if I turn Torpor Orb into a creature, then I can destroy it with Fatal Push. So they Bloodbraid into a Pillage, destroying the Pithing Needle, unlocking their Chandra. They don't have a lot of mana right now to use the Chandra, so I'm not in too bad a state yet, and I get to kill the Bloodbraid Elf here since they turned on Revolt when they destroy the Pithing Needle, which will then deactivate the Clothis, and they'll just be attacking with the Arbor Elf. I wait to see what they'll attack, and they try to attack me, which makes sense. I'm at 7. By killing the Bloodbraid, then I only take 1. So I'm still in a really difficult position here because they have this that can deal 2 damage a turn. They have Closeness that deals 2 damage a turn. And I have Tezzeret, which can get me out of this situation, but I don't think I have enough time. I don't want to just ultimate Tezzeret, which would buy me, 5 turns, but I know that I want it to destroy the Torpor Orb, and maybe even win the game itself. So what I do is I turn Sorcerous Spyglass into a creature and attack the Chandra. So now the clock on me is the Clothis itself. So I'll start playing out my hand here. I imagine that I bomb both of these. Let's see. Yeah, I bomb both of those. And I play the bridge out. Yeah. So now I'm at 4. Basically, if they draw any burn, I'm dead. But if I get enough turns here, I can win. So they Bloodbraid, but they only hit another Clothis, which is a dead hit. And the Bloodbraid can't attack because of the Ensnaring Bridge. They attack with Arbor Elf. How did I get? Why am I still at 2? Oh, they attacked Tezzeret with the Arbor Elf. So I plus Tezzeret, find a Thopter Foundry. Play it. I then sacked a Pentaprism to gain a life and go up to 3. So this stops the Clothis from killing me this turn. And I start digging because now I have to find it. Now if I can find a sword, then I can just destroy the Torpor Orb with Fatal Push and start comboing off from there. So I'm down to 1 now. They pillage, attempting to destroy my Thopter Foundry. I need to sack something else in order to buy me a turn again. Because if I only sacrifice the Thopter Foundry, then I am going to be at 2. I need to get up to 3 life. Alright, so here I draw Academy Ruins, and instead of trying to leave the Tezzeret to chance, I immediately put Thopter Foundry on top of my library. and then plus Tezzeret. They just fetch and do nothing. There was a Thought to Foundry anyway, so I could have taken the chance, but this was the safe play. So I play Thought to Foundry again. So at this point, I didn't realize it, but I kind of I'm setting them up to just die from Tezzeret's ultimate. But in my mind, I was thinking, all right, I need the Thought to Foundry in play. Once I can find my sword, then I can use Tezzeret to get rid of the Torpor Orb. I do start swinging, just because I know they don't have any other two power creatures with haste. So here they hit Relic. And this actually kind of helped in a way because they cracked the Relic. So that takes away the fuel for Clothis. Although they do get a Flame Slash in the graveyard, so it doesn't help that much, but at least there's some limit to how many times they can trigger Clothis if they don't keep getting more things into the graveyard. Imagine that I sack the Pentaprism here. Continue to keep my life total at a point where I can keep attacking them. So I wonder if here, if I missed... Okay, so here I made the play with Torpor Orb. So I wonder if I just missed lethal here, I could have attacked them for 3, taken out 26, and then activated Tezzeret and drain them for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 18. So no, they weren't quite dead yet. So I got rid of the Torpor Orb here. Attacking. I sat some things in response here. Keep myself alive. And I get back the Witching Well. So I get the Witching Well back because it's going to allow me to dig deeper for the sword. At this point, the Torpor Orb is gone. If I figure if I can just get the sword, then I'm golden. So I'll draw the Witching Well, play it. If I don't see a sword, I get to scry away 2 cards, and then plus Tezzeret to try to find the sword. So still no sword. I think at the end of this turn is when I start to realize, wait a minute, I can just ultimate and finish them off next turn. So what they did just now, there's an Urza on top of my deck, that I scryed the top of my deck, but they use Clothis' ability targeting my Pentaprism in my graveyard. So I just put the Pentaprism on top of my library. So I didn't have to sack anything, and they didn't get to deal the damage. So they play out a Tireless Tracker. They get to draw 1 card. It's not what they need. They attack with Arbor Elf just to keep fuel in their graveyard for Clothis, I assume. Oh, and they attack Tezzeret. They probably realized that I can ultimate Tezzeret, and maybe were hoping that I wouldn't block for whatever reason. But that's not the case. I just play the Pentaprism and ultimate Tezzeret. Or I might attack first and ultimate Tezzeret. Yeah. And that was that. So this third game was really crazy. I really had to try and hold on against the Clothis. and the Torpor Orb, which is a card I hardly ever have to play against for quite a few turns, but it worked out in the end. Alright, so that's round 6. Round 7 now. Round 7. I really can't remember what any of these people were playing. Come on. So, alright, so this looks like the Tron player. Mulligan to 4. Yeah, so this first game, they couldn't really get themselves set up. They had a one-lander. For some reason, they played this instead of activating this to find another land. Maybe they had a Sylvan Screen in play and they were hoping to draw another land. Yeah. So this first game was kind of a non-game. You know, I got this turn 3. I'm getting my Whirza online, getting my Thought of Foundry into play, and yeah, basically that was the end of that. I get my sword. They can try to react and exile it, but then I just sack the Chromatic Star in response and attack for lethal. Game 2. Let's just skip it. Game 2. I have this opener, which is it's not great. I prefer to have a Thoughtseize, but I don't want to mulligan too aggressively. You know, it is a combo that basically I need 3 parts for it to work well enough against this deck. And however I slow them down, unless it is a literal unless there is a literal damping sphere, I probably not want to slow them down for more than 2 turns. So I just start ramping. Hoping that with enough mana in play, you know, I can just draw what I need and then do it all in 1 turn maybe. So they get a Relic online early, and I am strapped for mana. I'm afraid to crack the Chromatic Star, looking for a 3rd land for that turn because I don't want to lose the Glimmer Void, which has always been my problem with Glimmer Void, but honestly, it fixes mana so well that I have I've grown accustomed to it. So I'm pretty dead here, but I decided that I'm just going to play a little longer. Use the Fracture, get rid of that. You never know when Tron just doesn't have anything else in their hand. So I find it's correct to push a bit and not just give up. But they had another Karn, and that was the end of that. Game 3. I'm on the play, and I start off with a Thoughtseize. And I see the kind of hand that I don't want to see with Thoughtseize, which is a bunch of redundancy, a bunch of Ancient Stirrings, and a Sylvan Scrying. So I take the Sylvan Scrying, just because they have 3 Ancient Stirrings anyway. Maybe I should have taken 1, just so that if they want to use Sylvan Scrying, it's going to take up 2 mana on one of their turns. I don't know. The deck is so consistent that may have been correct to just take an Ancient Stirrings, or even a Chromatic Star, so that they can only play 1 of these spells a turn. Actually, yeah, that might have been the move, to take a Star, because that way they could only play 1 of these a turn. Whereas I took Sylvan Scrying, and immediately what they did for their first turn is play Plant and play Star. So this is going to allow them to play 2 Ancients turns on their second turn. Whereas if I had taken the star, that would have been a lot better. So that's something for me to remember in the future. I scry 2. I put both cards on top. So I'm going to fetch here, bottom, I imagine, and play with my Thought Foundry. So I draw a Fracture that I can't use, and I don't want to play, or do I play Goblin Engineer? Let's see. Oh, I do play Engineer, right. The reason I played Engineer here is I have three cards in my graveyard. So they can tap and exile one at a time. So as long as I don't crack my Foundry to try and get back Sword, they can't crack their Relic to try and exile Sword. So my plan was I would get Sword, pass the turn, wait for them to pass back to me, and then on my turn, I would have enough mana that I can sack one Wishing Well and then sack the other in response to the Relic. But instead, what they did, which was smart, was when I cast Engineer, they destroyed the Thopter Foundry. And I go ahead and make a Thopter instead of taking the life. The life isn't that useful for me here. And I think that I do get a sword here. Do I? Let's see. No. Right now, right, I didn't get a sword because they're still pressured to crack this next turn. Or this turn. Because if I get to untap, I get to use once I keep one red up, I can use Engineer anytime to try and save my my Foundry. Alright, so they exile all graveyards and play Great Creator. And plus. So it's a very difficult position for me. Of course, I'm thinking if I can just draw a fetch land, then I can get Hallowed Fountain and get rid of the Creator. Or I could just draw Galvanic Blast and get rid of the Creator after I attack it. No luck though. So here I play Engineer, go and get a sword, and attack Great Creator. So here is where I was fairly sure that it was all over. They play Ugin, sweep up all of my permanents, and they have an active Karn. So it looks pretty terrible. They get like metal coating. But I just kind of waited to see how it would go and let it play out. But I know I had the fracture, so I was thinking maybe, alright, I have the fracture, maybe if I get a white source, then in their upkeep I could take out the Karn, and then the Ugin is just dealing 3 damage a turn for the next 2 turns. So maybe I can do something else in between there. So I ended up getting lucky. I drew a Blast, which also deals with Karn. So then that just leaves the Ugin. And if I get a white source, then I can deal with Ugin. They do have active Tron, they can draw a lot more gas, but I'm not quite dead, is what I realize here. Plus, now, if I play Whirza, I'll get back Sword at the same time. And they needle Whirza. I guess because in people's minds, the deck is named Whirza. So Whirza is the most important card. But Whirza is just, the catalyst that makes the Thopter Sword combo really formidable. But it's still something that, and Whirza, it makes you play additional cards each turn, but it still gets to make mana under Pithing Needle, and it's still infinite Thopters that they have to deal with. So I'm seeing all this and I'm thinking, alright, so you're saying there's a chance. Very small chance. I don't really expect to win, but I should keep playing. I draw a Pentad Prism, which works out well because now I get to deal with the Ugin and go from there. So they go up on charge counters with Blackstone. I wasn't sure if they would use Blackstone to try and destroy the Pentad Prism. I didn't really think so. So I let them use their Ugin, wait to see if they play anything else, and it was like, alright, go time. I will fracture the Ugin at the end of their turn. And now I get to untap and play Whirza. And like I have the combo to play next turn. So if I can get around the timing of this blast zone somehow, like I could literally win next turn. So if I draw another artifact, for instance, I can get around the timing on blast zone and then win by attacking with the construct. So they play a Worm Coil, which stops me from attacking. If they want to be salty, that could be a problem. But so I draw a Whir here, and I think I decide to do nothing because Whir is instant speed, so I can wait and see what they do with this Blast Zone. They attack. I don't block. I go to 1. Okay, so I actually cast this at the wrong time in their main phase. I didn't realize. So I Whir for 2 here, and I guess they should have cracked this in response to the Whir, because I could get Pithing Needle and just name that. What I did instead is I get a Thopter Foundry. So now we're in this chicken situation, but I get a Thopter Foundry knowing that I have another one in hand. So that is the extra artifact that makes this all possible. So I play my second Thopter Foundry. And I can play it, I am... this is on 4, they can't destroy them. I just put these artifacts into play as extra material, and now I can start trying to get sword back. And even if they try to respond by blowing up a blast zone, I can still make as many Thopters as I need, and it works out from there. Yeah, they realize that they should have destroyed the Whirza in response to the Whir at this point. Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. I was certain I was dead when the Ugin dropped, but it worked out in the end. Round 8. One play. I cannot remember what this person was playing either. I feel like it was Jund or something like that. No, this is the black-red mid-range deck. And I play the sword here, even though it would be good against the Liana, just so that if I draw a Whir, I can Whir for Thopter Foundry. So here, having seen all this, I don't play bridge because if they play Liliana, I want to be able to discard the bridge, go to my turn, play a land, play Whirza. I think I didn't properly considered the fact that they could be black-red at this point. I think I was supposed to play this fetch over one of these lands. I can't remember. But it's only when they confirmed here that they were black-red, or well, I assume they were confirmed to be black-red here, that I thought, oh, I didn't really play around Blood Moon. So I discard Bridge, get my Urza down, play Sphere out, and equip Urza. Just because I'm expecting to sack this. Well, I'm expecting to lose both creatures really because they reveal the Dreadbore. But this way the Urza attacks for 2 instead of 1 if it's on Hosevice's turn. Okay, instead of using Dreadbore, they play another Lily. I guess in their mind, it's better to have the Dreadbore, which is cheaper in hand and targeted, to use in the future. Whereas the Lily Edict will get exactly what they want to get this turn. Alright, so I play out my land, let them activate Lily, let them do what they're doing, and then I'm going to draw 2 at the end of their turn with Witching Well. So I don't feel like this is a bad position to be in here. You know, the Lily is only at 2. I have multiple ways to find a Thought to Foundry. Play this out. They have the Fatal Push, so I just will tap some mana to allow me to play the Pentad Prism, which will give me the maximum amount of mana for the next turn or 2. Another Fatal Push, and then Crowser comes down. So I'm in a bad position here, but still, if I can just get a Thought to Foundry, it will be okay. No such luck. I draw this Engineer, and I'm dead on board. So game 2, on the play, I think I end up mulling to 5, yeah. I wish I could have shown what I put back. But basically I figured this would be the best 5-card hand. Keep all my lands, and I keep a redundant card, so that even if they Thought Seize me turn 1, I know what I'm doing turn 2, and I have mana to try to recover. And they do Inquisition turn 1. Fetch a Triome. Play Engineer and get Sword. So I draw Thought to Foundry, which was really good. And they play that Neo Spell Bomb. I decide not to do anything. I could have gotten back the sword and lost the Thought to Foundry, which is what I do sometimes because I only have 2 swords. But I figure it's better to have this in play. I have engineers which are best at finding swords anyway. So let them cash this in. Maybe if they try to get greedy enough, I can figure out a way to keep both cards. So I draw land, fetch, play Urza. They exile my graveyard in response. Fair enough. Alright, so they are still way ahead of me. They have 5 cards in hand. I don't have much really. Drawing land. Yeah, I decided to attack with the construct. Just to pressure their life to a hole. You know, they have the bob, and construct wasn't doing much holding back. They're tapping this to draw cards anyway. And I don't mind trading with bob. If I were them, I wouldn't have taken that trade. So they get a Liliana. And what I do here is when they make me sack, I sacrifice the Thopter Foundry and lose the Thopter. And I do that because I figure my back is against the wall, but they don't seem to have removal. Um, so having an engineer in play could potentially have a lot more upside. But I just draw a Scaling Tarn. But I do get to attack the Liliana. Yeah, sorry, that was the other thing I was thinking, that if I get the people creature in play, then I can attack Liliana. They continue to use their Magma Height Channeler, but kind of hitting a lot of air. They play a explosives on 0 just to get it out of their hand, and play a seasoned Pyromancer. Alright, so this is really useful with engineering play. And the gambit of keeping engineer over Thopter Foundry against the Lily pays off here. Because I can get back, I get to keep my engineer and get back Thopter Foundry. And I put a sword in place so they can't attack me. It's possible I should have played this in a different order, but I don't know what they have. You know, they could have instant speed ways of interacting with my graveyard that I haven't seen yet. So I just prefer to get the Thopter Foundry into play. And I have 2 good targets for their Colligan's Command. But that is actually a good thing. You know, Colligan's Command, that you want to overload their answers. I find is the best way to defeat hate and cards like that 1-for-1, rather than having Spellskite or Wielding Jar. It's just better if you have more things that they have to answer than they have answers. So I get myself a Thopter, ramp. Figure it's a zero-sum game if they use the engineer explosives to destroy the Thopter, because they lose an elemental as well. Do I kill the Lily here? I can't remember if I decide to attack the Lily. Let's see. No. So I draw an Aether Spellbomb. I imagine that I draw a card with it immediately. Draw nothing. So they could have really pressured me here. Again, this looks like I probably managed to pull this out because of how my opponent played. Because if they had attacked me with all this stuff, and then I sacked Pentad Prism to go to 11 to block, then they would sack this, and I would take 10 and go to 1. I have a feeling that would have been better than what they ended up doing. But either way, I would be at 1 here, and I would have the sword. but I wouldn't have the pentad prism to back up the sword here. And I should have definitely used the sword, used the thought to foundry. Well, that was only sat. That was a mistake on my part as well. So here I need to make just enough thopters to survive because they have the engineer explosives, um, and then try to move the blocks. Yeah, so they blow up the engineer explosives. I make more thopters. I think that they try to exile with that, but I have enough mana to keep trooping on. Okay, so at this point I'm surviving this turn, and I just need to try to get far enough ahead before they can find another answer. So I draw Vanishing Verse. I elect not to use it on one of these just because I don't want them to draw some. They're playing white. I don't want them to draw like Rest in Peace or Stony Silence, and I use up my answer, exiling a creature that I could block. So they just find a bunch of normal removal here. Hand is empty. I can block that with multiple creatures. So I don't think I realized that their hand was empty at the time. If not, I would have made all of my Thopters one time. So I cheated myself out of one Thopter here. And untap draw, get Galvanic Blast, so they're dead this turn. Game 3. Get this starting hand, which is starting hands with Triome are always a little clunky, but this hand can grind, I think. And no turn 1 thought seizes. Fantastic. I think I've decided at this point in time that they're not playing Blood Moon, so that's why I don't mind fetching non-basics. Yeah, I really don't mind a lily here. Put a sword in the yard, feel good about it. So I play Academy Ruins here rather than Polluted Delta, just so that if another lily comes, or Kroxa followed by whatever else, I don't want to be in a position where I want to discard a land and that land is Academy Ruins. So I want to get it into play. Alright, so I draw a goblin, use it to get top to foundry, and because I have Academy Ruins, it's even if the goblin engineer dies, I still have access to what I got with it. And that's why I always play Academy Ruins in this deck rather than Inventor's Fear. Right? You don't want to play both because you want colored mana for Pentad Prism and for Whir. And Goblin Engineer can tutor things and sometimes survive to get them back. But once you have Academy Ruins, you can get back whatever you tutor with Goblin Engineer, sorry. And same is true for Emery builds. That's why I really prefer Academy Ruins at this stage. Back when we didn't have Emery and we didn't have Goblin Engineer, then I would play both, really and truthfully. Or sometimes people even preferred Fear. But I know that we're playing with these cards that put things in the graveyard. The value of Ruins is way higher than Fear to me. Yeah, so they're gonna Inquisition. I'll just let them take my other sword. Hope they don't have a way to exile my graveyard now. But I know that if they do have a way to exile my graveyard, they'll just take sword anyway and exile it. So I might as well assume that they don't and get to use my my removal spell to get their creature off the board, even though it's not a high priority. Alright, so I draw a Nail Spellbomb. And they're tearing through their deck trying to find answers. They actually end up discarding Kroxa, which that is just being fed to my Nail Spellbomb. I get back my Doctor Foundry, get back my swords, play a land, and exile their graveyard. So, in a really strong position at this point. Oh, I didn't exile their graveyard? Why didn't I exile their graveyard? Oh, right. Because I had the Aether Spellbomb. So I didn't even mind if they used their turn getting Kroxa, just because I had an answer to it being in play. So I wasn't in a rush to use the Nail Spellbomb to get rid of it. And I don't mind using my last mana to combo here because even if they exile it, I have another one in play already. So here they try to call against command. I make some more Thopters and exile their hand. Oh, because they're making me discard, so I want to draw an extra card. And so I got options for what I want to discard. And knowing that I have this land coming, I can discard the talisman. I make one more Thopter here. Right? So now I immediately put it back on top just so that they can't draw something that lets them exile at instant speed or something. And I start attacking. Right, so they got a Kroxa. Not a big deal. We have the Spell Bomb. And we just have blockers for days. Life gain. Lily. We really don't care. I don't even think I attack Lily. Or maybe I do. Yeah. And then they don't. They give up after that. Alright, so now the final round. I end up facing blue-red prowess, I want to say. Yeah. I keep what could be. It's not a great hand, but it has a combo piece, it has mana. A lot of the time, that's all you really need. We have so many tutors in deck, especially when you have Dr. Foundry. There's so many ways to find the sword that this is not a bad situation to be in. We're definitely playing Pithing Needle because we want to have that material in play for a second to Dr. Foundry for whirring and whatever else. Yeah, we draw a Damping Sphere, which is like, alright, maybe that'll help us survive a little longer, but yeah, we got taken right down to 3. And there was just nothing I can do from here, knowing that they have the Lava Dart. You know, I can make a blocker, the Lava Dart hit, and I die, and that's it. Game 2. Again, this one was over pretty quickly. Go first, mull to 6. It's like I have the combo in play, setting up my draws. But really and truthfully, against this deck, you want removal first. It's just I didn't want to mull to 5. Especially when I had 3 mana and combo in hand. Like, it didn't make sense trying to mull to 5. But typically, the games that you win against prowess are games where, yeah, I will literally mulligan and put combo pieces on the bottom of the deck just to keep removal. Just because they don't play that many creatures. So if you can make that kind of draw match up with a low creature hand from them, then the removal is way better, and you can kind of stop them for a while they look for another threat, and then set up and win. So here I wasn't feeling too bad. They have this one creature there, and if I had removal, like, I would be in a fantastic position. But they're just attacking. I'm gonna whir for a Thought Foundry. I have a backup Thought Foundry. I feel like I'm set up fairly well. And actually, I purposely did it this way because I was worried about spell bears. Because I could have just played this Thought Foundry on my turn, but they had an uncracked fetch there. So I decided that I'm gonna pass and play the whir, and hopefully they tap out. If not, at least they'll counter the whir, and then I will be able to play Thought Foundry with mana up on my turn. I can't remember if I sat the sword here. I would imagine. Looking back, I wish I had sat the sword. I wish I had sat the sword in my turn. I don't think it would have made much difference, but alright, so I sat the sword here anyway, just so that it's a bigger blocker. Lose my Thought Foundry. They Vapor Stag here and hit me for 6, take me to 9. And I cycle Chromatic Star, drawing to lands. I play Damping Sphere, which should buy me some time. Pass. They don't seem to have a lot of gas. They hit me for 3, they don't have a spell. I draw a land, I draw 2 more lands, and I'm dead to any spell. And they don't even have the spell. They have Sprite Dragon, and then I draw another land and I die. Yeah, so that if I had a average draw from this point on, and half of these weren't lands, I feel like I would have won this. They weren't in a great position. But yeah, that's what happened. Still really happy with how it ended up. I finished 19th in the event. I think that's the highest position I've ever finished. The only other top 32 I can remember was when I was playing Goblins in early 2020, and I think I finished 24th for that. Yeah, so those were the games, especially the Tron and Carnza. The second Carnza games were really interesting, so I thought I would go through them with you guys. Let me know what you think about the deck. I'm really happy with it. As I said before, I have put in a Rip Apart in place of the Damnation, because the one thing I was unhappy about while I was playing this deck, because this is only the second time I've played this 4-color build, was that I felt like I was having the Grixis problem where the anti-hate cards like Fracture are too narrow. So when I'm playing against a creature deck, sometimes I have to bring in Fracture, just to hedge against a Pithing Needle. Because many players will, they have like a 15th sideboard space, and they don't know how to put in there. Just put in a Pithing Needle, just a generally good card, and it's completely possible that I'm up against an aggro deck and I don't have the Fracturing. I have Vanishing Verse in, but I don't have the Fracturing. I take out the Spine of Ursa because it's an aggro deck, and I want to make the deck as lean as possible. And then I just have no answer to a pithing needle. So that's why I put in rip apart. It's possible that even one of these might be a rip apart. I'll see with more testing where this goes, but I really want to get to the point where I am comfortable that I have enough answers to whatever hate the opponent could bring against just about any matchup. Yeah, so that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I will keep working on the deck, and hopefully I can do a live gameplay video in the near future.